Hello, GW, and welcome to this week's Top Headlines. I'm Emmanuel Dair Melado. On February 5th, Joe Rogan apologized after around 100 of his episodes were removed from Spotify over his use of racial slurs. While Spotify has maintained he will not be kicked off the platform, many artists, including Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, removed their music within the last few weeks in response to COVID-19 misinformation being spread on Rogan's podcast. Despite the growing call since then by Spotify users to fully remove Joe Rogan, CEO Daniel Ek said he will not be, quote, silencing the host. Earlier this month, many European countries revised their COVID-19 guidelines, with some countries removing them altogether. The Netherlands, Norway, and the Czech Republic all announced they were reducing restrictive measures on public spaces and travel, while Denmark ended all restrictions. COVID-19 anxieties appear to be easing up in Europe as the Omicron variant is slowing down. In other areas of the world, countries are struggling to lessen the protests against vaccine mandates. In Canada, the mayor of Ottawa declared a state of emergency due to COVID-19 vaccine protests. Truckers have blocked the main streets of the city, causing a complete shutdown for over a week. The protests do not appear to be slowing down anytime soon, as truckers continue to arrive in other Canadian cities. On February 1st, Brian Flores filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL, claiming that discriminatory practices have prevented a fair hiring process. In previous efforts to combat this issue, the NFL implemented the Rooney Rule in 2003 that requires teams to interview at least one minority when hiring a new head coach. Despite this, there are reports that interviews are conducted to fulfill the requirement, even though the organization has decided on a candidate. This is what Brian Flores is alleging occurred before going into his interview for the head coach position at the New York Giants. He received a text message from Bill Belichick, manager of the Patriots, congratulating Flores on the coaching position. Flores responded that he was confused and had not yet interviewed. Belichick then followed up 3 days before Flores' interview, expressing he had misread a text and the New York Giants had already decided on a candidate. Now let's go to our reporter for the week, Sydney Schmidt, to learn more about the Supreme Court decision that many are saying goes against the Voting Rights Act.
In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court has frozen an Alabama lower court decision that ordered a new congressional map to be drawn. While the Supreme Court's order is provisional until the court hears Alabama's appeal, the choice to stay the lower court's decision signals a potential new threat to the Voting Rights Act. While the conservative majority stated the decision intends to maintain the status quo as the case continues, Justice Kagan expressed her disagreement. In her dissent, Kagan stated both her concern for the disservice the decision does Black Alabamians and her disappointment in the court for issuing such a significant decision without fully briefing or oral argument. The decision threatens Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. In that section, the federal law requires states to draw Black majority districts when geographically possible and when racially polarized voting is common. Critics of the court's decision say that if the court accepted Alabama's argument, states would be able to remove many minority opportunity districts without violating the law. The changes to Section 2 especially concerns those in favor of the Voting Rights Act due to decisions in the past decade that have chipped away at the statute. These include a 2013 ruling that eliminated an aspect of the law outlining which states with a history of racial discrimination required federal approval before changing their voting laws. Those in favor of Alabama's current congressional map, such as State Attorney General Steve Marshall, believe redrawing the map will unconstitutionally separate Alabamians on the basis of race. The full impact the case will have on voting rights acts will not be clear until June of next year, when the Supreme Court's ruling is due.
Thank you, Sydney. This decision comes a couple of days since Justice Stephen Breyer announced his retirement after 27 years on the Supreme Court of the United States. Justice Breyer's exit is expected to have important effects on relations within the Supreme Court, especially when it comes to the roles of Justice Kagan, Sotomayor, and Roberts. While previously Justice Kagan would take a moderate standpoint on decisions, experts wonder whether now she will employ a larger amount of dissenting views. Meanwhile, Justice Sotomayor will replace Justice Breyer as the senior liberal justice, likely increasing her voice within the court. The nation now also looks at the Biden administration who is going to be the next justice of the Supreme Court. While no names have been officially released, President Biden announced on February 10th that he has shortlisted 4 candidates. This will be the first time in the history of the United States that a black woman will be nominated to the Supreme Court. In Beijing, almost 3,000 athletes from around the world traveled to participate in the Winter Olympics. And while rivalries might be friendly on the ice, simmering tensions between China and the United States on human rights have overshadowed a lot of the excitement surrounding the 2022 Games. Right before their start, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, was present at a panel with Uyghur and Tibetan activists when she said that the Chinese government were conducting, quote, a campaign of human rights violations, including genocide. While China has denied these claims, in December, the London-based Uyghur Tribunal found that torture, crimes against humanity, and genocide are being committed against the Uyghur population and other ethnic minority citizens in the Xinjiang region. Most recently, the Biden administration expressed support to Olympic athletes who want to peacefully protest against the actions of the Chinese government. I'm Emanuel Dayer Melado. See you next time.